بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Just give me 1 second. All right. Welcome everyone to the last week of the Tajweed course. Inshallah, this week, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually is. So firstly, we'll review what we covered in the last week, week 3. And then for this week, we'll be covering Med Far'i. So like I said, it says here is Med Far'i, but in reality, Med Far'i covers a lot. So we're going to cover the definition and then the different types of Med Far'i. But before that, we'll do a quick review of what we covered last week. So there's 2 weeks ago, because we didn't have class last week. There are some questions. First question is, what is the definition of Med? Can someone tell me what is the definition of Med? So last week, the entire chapter was on Med.
Elongation?
Yeah, it's basically elongation. You're lengthening certain letters. All right, and that goes into the next question. What are the Med letters? What are the letters that you can lengthen? All right, we mentioned there are only certain letters that you can lengthen. Does anyone remember?
Alif, Waw, Ya.
Excellent. So Alif, you can extend it. The Waw you can extend, and the Ya you can extend. If you extend the Alif, how does it sound?
Ah,
Right? And if you extend the Ya, how does it sound?
E,
E. And if you extend the Waw?
U.
Ooh, excellent. And we mentioned that in order to be a med, these med letters, there are certain conditions. Does anyone remember the conditions? What do the med letters need? Is that anytime there's a Waw or anytime there's a Ya or anytime there's a Alif, is it going to be a med letter, or does it have to have a certain haraka? Is there a certain haraka that has to be before it? Does anyone remember? So,
No Shadda after it, no Sukun after it, no Amza before and after.
all right, good. So, but you're talking about the conditions for med asli. We're not there yet. So we're just talking about the conditions for these letters to be med letters. All right. So for that to take place, though, if there's a Waw, it has to be preceded by a Dhamma. So
Oh, yeah, sorry.
it's not just any time there's a Waw. The Waw has to have a Sukun, first of all, and it has to be preceded by a Dhamma. For the Ya has to have a Sukun, and it has to be preceded by a Kasra. And the Alif, anytime there's Alif, it'll be a med letter. All right, but remember those conditions, that the Ya has to have a Kasra before it, and the Ya has to be sakin, has to have a Sukun. And the Waw has to be sakin, and the letter before has to have a Dhamma before it. All right. Now we said here, what is Med Asli? And you have answered that. Someone tell me the definition of Med Asli.
Natural Mad.
Natural Med. Excellent. And you mentioned the conditions. What are the conditions of Med Asli?
Yeah, the 3 conditions which I just mentioned, right?
So can you repeat them again?
Yeah. No Amza before and after, no Sukun, and no Shadda.
Good. Because if there is one of those, it's going to turn into another med. It wouldn't be Med Asli anymore. And how many vowel counts is Med Asli?
2.
It's just 2 vowel counts. All right, good. Can someone give me some examples of Med Asli? It's very common. Think of it like almost any word that has a med letter, it's probably med asli. Does anyone know? All right, I'll give you guys one example. Qala. All right, there's a med letter alif, and it's just 2 counts. Qala. All right, yaqulu. That's another one. It's just 2 vowel counts. Does anyone know any other examples?
ألهاكم التكاثر.
Alhaaku. Good. Alhaakum. Alhaakum. Good. It's just 2 counts. Any other examples?
Inna.
Inna.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it
إن
could be.
منهم لفريقا يلمون.
Which word?
وإن منهم.
وَإِنَّ مِنْهُمْ. Where's the med asli there?
إن.
Inna is not a med. Where's the med? What's the med letter in inna?
ده ألف.
There's no alif in inna. The first letter in inna is a hamza. So don't confuse hamza and alif. Alif can never take a haraka. So that's inna. The first letter in that word is a hamza. Hamza with a kasra.
Yeah.
Any other examples? But you said وَإِنَّ مِنْهُمْ لَفَرِيقًا يَلْوُونَ. Yalwuna would be med asli. Right? Because there's a wow and the letter before has a dhamma. Right? And then we mentioned there's some mudud that are similar to med asli. All right. Does anyone remember these mudud? What are they? And how many are there?
I know 3, but I don't know exact names.
Okay, good. There's 3 of them. All right. And we mentioned, just to speed things up really quickly, we mentioned they're similar because they're the same vowel count as med asli. All right.
Correct.
So med asli is 2 vowel counts. These mudud are also 2 vowel counts. All right. And there's 3 of them. The first one we said was med iwad. All right. Med iwad is a substitute med. It's when there's fathatain, like 2 fathas, tanween. Right. Normally, if you continue, for example, azizan, azizan, if you continue, but if you stop on it, it becomes a med. So if you stop on a word in the last, if you stop on a word that has fathatain, tanween, it'll become a med, it'll become an alif. So azizan will become aziza, just 2 vowel counts. Aziza. فقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا. If you stop عجبا, right, 2 vowel counts. That's med iwad. The next example we said was med silatu sughra. All right, does anyone remember what this med was? Med silatu sughra. Anyone? All right, this med is the med where there is a ha at the end of a word and you extend it. So the letter before, and we mentioned some conditions, the letter before and the letter after cannot have a sukoon. It has to have a haraka. For example, عباده خبيرا. You don't say عباده. You extend the ha. عباده. It's 2 vowel counts. That's med صلة الصورة. هذه تذكرة. All right. And then we mentioned the last med was the med found, the alif, the beginning of certain surahs, in the letters hay, tahur, hayun tahur. All right. So for example, if you say ta sin, the ta there, you would extend 2 vowel counts. Ta. You wouldn't say ta. That's wrong. For another example, hamim, you would say hamim. The ha is going to be two vowel counts. It's not going to be ha. All right, and there's some more examples, but for the sake of time, we'll start with this week's lesson. All right, med far'i. All right, what is med far'i? Last week we covered med asli, which is the natural med or the original med, and now we're covering the secondary med. All right, so med far'i is the secondary med. All right, and we mentioned it's going to be caused by sukun or hamza. 1 second. All right. It's going to be caused by sukun or hamza. What does that mean? So there's going to be a hamza before it or after, and there should be a sukun after. All right. So mad far'i can be one of these cases. There'll either be a hamza before or a hamza after or a sukun after. If it's any one of those cases, it'll be mad far'i. All right. So when we say hamza before or after, what are we talking about? Before or after what? Does anyone know? This will really
Alif
show.
waw ya.
Again?
Alif waw ya.
Good, good. So when we're saying hamza before or after, sukun after, we're talking about the med letter. So if there's a hamza before the med letter, or a hamza after the med letter, or a sukun after the med letter, then it'll be med far'i. All right, remember, we're talking about med here. There's the med letters. All right, so if there's a hamza before, again, hamza before a med letter, or hamza after, or sukun after, is going to be med far'i. All right. This is the first.
This is opposite of that rule which we talked about, right?
Exactly, exactly. So if it's not med asli, it's gonna be med far'i. All right. So this is med al-muttasil. This is the first type of med far'i. So in this entire class, I think there's like 6 or 5 rules of med far'i, different types of med far'i that we'll cover. All right. So the first one is probably the most basic one. It's called med muttasil. All right. You see this a lot in the Quran. So what does this mean? All right, remember, this is the type of med far'i. The first type of med far'i, med muttasil, it means the attached med, right? Muttasil means attached or connected. All right, technically, what does it mean? After a med letter appears, a hamza appears after a med letter in the same word. I kind of switched it up here. But you're going to see a hamza after the med letter in the same word. So this is very important. The fact that it is in the same word. I need you guys to pay attention to that. So there will be a hamza after a med letter in the same word. And the length will be 4 harakat, 4 vowel counts, 4 or 5. All right. So we have some examples here. So what's the med letter? Someone read this word, the first word. Al-malaika. Good. All right. What's the med letter here?
Lam.
Lam is not a med letter.
No, yeah, you're right.
Think about what you're extending. Al-mala.
Alif. Alif.
Good. Alif. All right. And what's the letter after the alif?
Hamza.
Right. Mala'i. Right. That's a hamza. All right. So is this med muttasil? Is it med muttasil or no? According to this definition, a hamza is after a med letter in the same word. And is it in the same word? That's another question. Al-malaika. This is one word. So yes, it is in the same word. So this is going to be med muttasil. All right. So you have to make it 4 counts. Al-malaika. So when you're reading, you can't say al-malaika. That's wrong. You have to make it 4 counts. The next example, someone read this word. Was.
Wasailin.
Okay. Wasailin. All right. What's the med letter here?
Alif.
Good. And what's the letter after?
Hamza.
Is it in the same word or one word or 2 words?
Same word, I think.
Yeah, good. It's the same word. Sa'ilin is all one word. All right. So because it's in the same word, it's med muttasil. All right. And the reason they call it the attached med is because it is in the same word, meaning the hamza is attached to the med letter. They're connected. They're in the same word. All right. And the next slide, you're going to see the opposite of it. We'll get to that after. All right. Wasa'ilin. All right. They're in the same word. The hamza is after the med letter. So it's going to be 4 counts. Wasa'ilin. All right. The next one. Shuhada. All right. Same word again. There's a hamza before is a med letter. Med letter after there's a hamza. In the same word, it's med muttasil. All right, next example. Wassama'i. All right, again, 4 counts. It's in the same word. So it's going to be med muttasil. All right, the next example, someone read this. Bari.
Una.
Again.
Variuna.
Bari'una. All right, what's the med letter here?
E.
Yeah, good job.
E? What letter would it be?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. All right, so yeah is a med letter.
Yes.
Okay, and there's a hamza after it. So, and it's in the same word or different words?
Same word.
Good. So it's gonna be med muttasil. All right, and we'll go through the other examples a little quicker. خطيئته يضيء السوء قائمة هنيئا قروء تفيئة. All right, is there any questions on med muttasil? Very important to note, this med has to be 4 vowel counts. All right, and that's probably the most important part of it, is that when you're reciting now to your teacher, just reciting, you cannot, right? You have to implement what you learn in this class. So when you read and you come across med muttasil, you have to make it 4 vowel counts long, right? You can have the theoretical knowledge, you can know the rule, right? When to do med muttasil, what is med muttasil, but if you're not applying it, if you're not reciting and making it 4 vowel counts, then what's the point, right? So you have to make it 4 harakat long. All right, we'll go to the next slide if there's no questions. All right, the next med is med al-munfasil, munfasil. All right, so we just covered muttasil, now it's munfasil. All right, munfasil is kind of the opposite, is the disconnected med. All right, so remember from muttasil, we said it was the attached med. Munfasil is a disconnected. And why is it disconnected? All right, the definition, after a med letter appears a hamza in the next word. So before, the hamza was in the same word. Now it is in the next word, right? They're in 2 different words. All right, why is this important? Because if they're in 2 different words, now you have an option with the med. So you can make the med 2 or 4 vowel counts long. All right, 2 or 4. So it's not just 4 now. All right. Some things to note. You must be consistent with whatever option you choose. So if you choose to make the med 2, then you have to make it 2 for as long as you're reading, right? But if you make it 4, you have to make it 4. You can't make one of them 2 and the next one 4. All right, and another thing to note, if you stop on the med, you will not extend it. So it will only be 2 vowel counts long. All right. Fiha and her. All right, so we have the med letter here, alif, fiha, and the next letter is a hamza. All right, but are they in 2 different words or the same word?
2 different words.
2 different words. All right, good. So because they're in different words, now it's going to be med munfasil. So now I have an option. So I can make it 2 or 4. So how would it sound if it's 2 vowel counts?
Fiha anhar.
Good. Fiha anhar. All right, and how would it sound if it's 4 counts?
Fiha anhar.
Good. Fiha anhar. All right, so you can make 2 or 4. But if you're reading it, making it 4. So let's say you're reading and you're saying Fiha anhar. every time this med munfasil comes, right, for as long as you're reading, you have to make it 4. Right? You can't make one of them 4 and the next one 2 and the next one 2 and the next one 4 and then keep switching. No, you stay consistent with whatever you're doing. And we said if you stop on the med, you will not extend it. So what does that mean? So let's say you're making it 4 counts. You're saying fiha anhar. But let's say you stop on the word fiha. Would you say fiha or would you just
No.
say fiha?
No. Yeah, fiha.
Good. Even though you're making it 4, but if you're stopping, you're not extending it. You're just making it 2, right? Because the reason you're extending it is because the hamza after it. But now when you're stopping, you're not pronouncing the hamza. So it just becomes, what med does it turn in if you stop on the word fiha? It's a trick question. What med does it become if you stop on the word fiha? Does anyone know?
Is it mud asli?
Good. Excellent. It's just med asli, fiha. All right, because there's no hamza after. So the reason it became med munfasil is because there is a hamza after. But if we're stopping, now there's no hamza after because you've stopped. All right. So now it's just med asli. Excellent. All right. Next, ma anta. All right. So you can say ma anta, or you can make it 4 counts. Ma anta. All right. If you make it 2, ma anta, you're making every one of them 2. All right. And they're in different words, as you can see. Ma is 1 word, anta is 2 words. All right, next example. ربنا إننا. All right. ربنا إننا آمنا. All right. Someone read this. How would you read it, making it 2 counts?
ربنا إننا
Just
آمنا.
make it 2 vowel counts.
Yeah. ربنا إننا آمنا.
All right. Someone help him out. Tell him the mistake he's making.
Well, technically, it's not a mistake because it's 4. But if we want to do 2, then I would say it like ربنا إننا آمنا.
Good. Excellent. So if you're making it 2 counts, make it 2 counts is just like this. ربنا إننا آمنا. All right. So you were making it too long. 4 counts would be ربنا إننا آمنا. All right, that would be 4 counts. So again, if you stop ربنا, you're not going to say ربنا. You just say ربنا. All right, and for إننا as well. And you can't say, someone tell me what's the mistake here. ربنا إننا آمنا.
You stopped it, so it should be only 2 harakat.
What did you say?
You stopped that thing in Rabbana, so it should be 2 harakat.
No. Listen again. ربنا إننا آمنا.
You
You
didn't
did
stay
4.
consistent.
Uh-huh.
You have to be
Yeah.
consistent with the meds.
Say it again.
You have to be consistent with the meds.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah.
So I was not consistent. The first one, I made 4, and the second one, I made 2. You cannot do that. So if you make one of them 4, you're making all of them 4. If you're making it 2, you're making it 2. All right.
If you stop on the mud, do you also have to stay consistent?
Stop on the med, you only have one option. You can only make it 2. So if you stop, you can only say Rabbana. So you can't
Yeah,
say
so
Rabb.
like,
Uh-huh.
so you have to stay consistent even if you stop on the mud. Like so there's like 3 options.
If you stop, there's only one option.
Yeah,
You understand?
yeah,
So you're gonna make it only one option already. So you don't have an option to choose. So you're already gonna be consistent with whatever with that option, which is just 2 vowel counts. You got it?
yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Someone read the next example. قال.
قال إني أعلم.
All right, good. Just make sure you hold the ghunna on the noon. Inni. All right, that was 4 vowel counts. Now make it 2.
قال إني أعلم.
All right, good. Next one. Someone read it.
لا لعلي أبلغ.
All right, so how many vowel counts was that?
4.
All right, now make it 2.
لعلي أبلغ.
Good. لعلي أبلغ. All right. Someone else read the next example.
في أنفسهم
All right, now make it 2.
في أنفسهم
All right, make your ghunnas longer though. أنفسهم.
في أنفسهم.
All right, good. Next one. قالوا أنؤمن. قالوا أنؤمن. All right. قوا أنفسكم. قوا أنفسكم. And then to the end. Any questions on this?
I have
Yeah.
one question. So when, like, let's say in prayer, well, I don't know. I don't, is it like if you do for 2 harakat for mad munfasil in 1 rakat, or you keep it the same in that same in the prayer, or and then like in the next prayer you can change it, or within the rakats. I don't know. That might be too specific.
So if you make it 2 harakat, you have to keep it like that for life. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
okay.
kidding. I'm completely kidding. No, yeah, in 1 rakat, yeah. If you make it 2 in the next one, you make it 4. That's fine. It's no problem.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next slide. Any other questions on this? All right. All right. The next example, our next med, med badal. All right. What is med badal? This is to have a letter of med which is preceded by a hamza. All right. So the last 2 examples, the last 2 meds, the hamza was what? The hamza was after the med letter. All right. In med muttasil, it was in the same word. In med munfasil, they were in 2 words. So here, the hamza is before. The hamza is before the med. All right.
But here is 1 word or 2 word?
Is 1 word. 1 word.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And the only option is 2 harakat. It's only 2 vowel counts. All right. So at least in hafs, you can only make it 2 counts. So you can't say, for example, you can't say amanu or utu. That's wrong. All right. You just say amanu, utu, mustahzi'una, ambi'uni. All right. It's pretty simple. Anyone have any questions on this? You just memorize it. Med badal, 2 vowel counts. The hamza is before. All right. Any questions? We can read through the examples. Someone read this from where my pointer is. Wasa.
والصابئون.
Good. The next one.
إيمانا.
Iman and good. The next.
لي ليوطئوا.
Liwati'u. All right, I'm gonna ask you guys a trick question. What med is this right here in the middle of the word? Anyone know?
Asli.
Asli, good. All right, next one. ويستنبئونك. The last example. لإيلاف. All right, that's med badal. Pretty simple med. All right, next. Med عارض للسكون. So far we've covered 3 meds so far. And all the meds we covered were relating to Hamza. So when there's a Hamza before or a Hamza after. All right. From now, we're going to talk about mad far'i, the ones that are caused by sukun. All right. So we're done with Hamza now. All right. Actually, not completely done with Hamza. Or yeah, we are actually. So now we're covering the ones with sukun. All right. So what is mad a'arad lis-sukun? It's when a temporary sukun appears after a med letter, right? The med that is caused because of a temporary sukun that comes after a med letter. So what is a temporary sukun? We said temporary sukun. What does that mean? A temporary sukun is a sukun that is not originally there, but because you are stopping on the word, it takes a sukun. All right. Can someone give me an example? What does that mean? Like, and why does that occur actually? When would we have a temporary sukun? Like what would cause
If you're taking a pause, right, while reading or reciting,
okay,
so you have to give sukun and stop it, right?
good. So someone give me an example.
Repeat that.
Someone give me an example of what he just mentioned when a temporary sukun would occur. Think of any ayah.
It doesn't have to be on here.
No. Any ayah.
Yeah, any surah you can just recite and
So give me one ayah. Give me one example. All right, someone read that first ayah of Surah Fatiha.
No, I just
Alhamdu. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. The word al-alamin. What's originally on the last letter of that word, al-alamin, the noon? Is it al-alamini, al-alaminu, or al-alamina?
Alamini.
No, it's not alhamdulillahi rabbil alamini. That's wrong.
Yeah. There you have sukun, right? Alamin.
But I'm saying the noon. What does the noon originally have?
Sukun. Sorry. Yeah, got it.
Not
Sukun.
originally. Not originally. I'm talking about originally.
Alif.
Again?
Fatha.
Fatha. Good. It's al-alamina. Excellent. But because you're stopping, so how come when you stop, it becomes al-alamin? Why don't we say al-alamina? Why don't we say alhamdulillahi rabbil alamina?
Because there is a pause.
So when you stop, whenever you stop on a word, the last letter takes sukun. So al-alamina, it'll become al-alamin. So the sukun is not originally there. If you guys open your mushaf and go to Surah Fatiha or any ayah, right? Any ayah you stop on, when you read it, you stop with a sukun. But if you look in the mushaf, there's not a sukun there. There's a harakah. So al-alamina has a fatha in the Quran. If you open it right now, you can see for yourself. But if you stop, it takes sukun. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahimi, the meme there has a kasra. But if you stop, you give it a sukun. All right. Maliki yawmiddini has a kasra. But if you stop, you give it a sukun. So if you stop on a word, the last letter, the haraka changes it to a sukun. All right. So al-alamina, the fatha becomes a sukun. Al-alamin. All right. Only if you stop. So that's why we call it a temporary sukun, because the sukun is not really there. Right. It's only there if you stop. So if I say al-alamin, then this rule would apply. Mad a'arad lis-sukun. But if I continue and I say al-alamina, it's not going to apply. All right. So that's what a temporary sukun is. Is there any questions on that?
no.
All right.
Any exception to this rule, Imran? Or always we have to give sukun and pause it?
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Is there any exception for this rule?
Not that I can think of. No, anytime you stop, you
Okay.
have you give it a sukoon.
Okay, got
There,
it.
if you get really advanced, there are some other ways to stop, but for now we'll just stick to sukoon. But yeah, every eye you stop with sukoon.
Okay,
All right, but not every time you stop you're gonna do this rule. All right, and we'll get to that after. So not every time there's a temporary sukoon are you gonna do mad arid lis sukoon. All right,
okay,
we'll get to that after. So usually this comes at the end of ayahs, but not always. All right, not always. So for example, someone give me an example. Actually, we'll do that after. So the length will be 2, 4, and 6 counts. So you can make it 2, you can make it 4, or you can make it 6. You have an option. For example, Ar-Rahman. All right, if you stop Ar-Rahman, that would be 2 counts. Ar-Rahman, that's 2. 4 counts would be Ar-Rahman. That's 4. And 6 would be Ar-Rahman. All right, that's 2, 4, and 6. You have all of those options you can do. And if you go to the next ayah, let's say Allama al-Quran. Again, you can make it 2. Allama al-Quran. That's 4. Allama al-Quran. 6. All right, 2, 4, and 6. You have those options. All right. So we mentioned 2 things. We said that not every time there's a sukoon, a temporary sukoon, you're going to do mad arid this sukoon. Someone gave me an example when you stop on a word and you don't do this med. Someone give me an example. Because remember, we said before the temporary sukoon, there has to be a med letter. So what's an example when there's a temporary sukoon, but before it, there's no med letter? There's plenty of examples. Open the Quran, look at any word. If you stop on it, is the letter before the letter with the sukoon, not a med letter? That would be a good example. Does anyone know any examples? I'll give you guys one example. All right. Ash-shahada. The word shahada, if you stop, you're giving it sukoon, but the letter before is not a med letter. So there's no mad al sukoon. This only applies if the letter before, the letter with the sukoon is a med letter. All right. So someone give me an example of this med not at the end of an ayah, in the middle of an ayah. Can someone think of an example? Or first, we'll start at the end of ayah. Someone give me an example of mad al sukoon at the end of an ayah. Huh? Anyone? Mad al.
Could you repeat the question?
Give me an example of this med at the end of an ayah.
Am I repeating that?
Again, give me an example of mad arid lis sukoon at the end of an ayah.
Ar-Rahman.
All right, good. We already said that one. Give me one we didn't cover.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
We said that one too. Give me another.
Okay. Maliki Yawmiddin.
From not from Fatiha, another surah. But yeah, Malik Yawmiddin, that would be one. Come on, guys. Think of any ayah. It's basically in every ayah you could probably find one.
Wallahu ahad.
No. Where's the, you're just guessing. Come on, Saladin. Someone think of an example.
قل أعوذ برب الناس.
Thank you. Excellent. Beautiful. قل أعوذ برب الناس. The word الناس, originally قل أعوذ برب الناس with the kasra, but you're stopping, so it's going to take a temporary sukoon. Before the sukoon, there's the alif, na, which is a med letter. All right, so now, originally this was med asli, nasi. Because you're stopping, now it's med aadad lis sukoon, so it changed. All right, so now you can make it 2, 4, 6. All right, Isa, how would you make it 2, then make it 4, then make it 6?
قل أعوذ برب الناس.
Now that's make it, how much was that?
That was 2, and
All right.
قل أعوذ برب الناس.
Good. Make sure you hold the noon though. أعوذ برب. All right, good. Make it 6 now.
قل أعوذ برب الناس.
All right, you might cut out, but I think you made it 6. All right, so yeah. قل أعوذ برب الناس. That's 2. قل أعوذ برب الناس. That's 4. قل أعوذ برب الناس. That's 6. Excellent. All right, good. That's the first proper example. Someone give me another example of مد عارض للسكون. Anybody?
إنك أنت السميع العليم.
Thank you. سميع العليم. العليم, right? If you stop, العليم, العليم, العليم. So you see it's common at the end of ayahs. Usually at the end of ayahs, because at the end of the ayahs, that's when you're stopping, right? But sometimes you stop in the middle of an ayah. So for example, لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب. If you stop on أهل الكتاب, you can say أهل الكتاب, أهل الكتاب, or أهل الكتاب. All right, someone said my mic isn't working, but the first ayah of كافرون. Good. قل يا أيها الكافرون. 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 So 2, 4, 6. Excellent. All right, any questions on this? It seems like you guys don't really understand this med. Any questions?
No.
Anyone else? All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, the next slide, the next med is med lean. All right, what is med lean? Med lean is similar to arad lis-sukun. All right, what is it? When does it occur? It occurs when there is a wow with a sukun or a ya with a sukun, and it's preceded by a fatha. All right, pay attention to that. There is a wow sakina or a ya sakina. All right, no, it's not alif, and it's preceded by a fatha only. Only a fatha. All right. So the med is only pronounced when you stop, and the length is similar to arad lis-sukun 2, 4, 6. All right, so let's look at some examples. We said Quraysh. All right. If you continue, لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم. Can I say لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم? Can I do that or no?
No.
All right, so if I continue, how long? If you continue, it's not even a med. All right, but if you stop, how would it sound? If you stop, you can make it 2, 4, 6. So someone read this. How would you make this 2 counts? How would you make it 4 counts? And how would you make it 6 counts?
قريش.
Okay, start with 2. Start with 2 counts. Make it 2 counts.
Okay. قريش. قريش.
Make the 4 is going to be longer. Quraysh.
قريش. قريش قريش.
Good. 2, 4, and 6, right? Only if you stop. All right, because there's a ya with a sukoon and the letter before is a fatha, has a fatha. All right, good. So, but if you continue, like we said, لإيلاف قريش, there's no mad. Only if you stop. قريش, قريش, until the end. Our next example, فويل. So if you continue, for example, فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون. If you continue, فويل, it's not going to be فويل. That's wrong. It's just 2 counts. فويل. All right, but if you stop, فويل or فويل or فويل, 2, 4, 6. Our next example, كيف. All right, if you continue, كيف, that's it. If you stop, كيف, كيف, or كيف, 2, 4, 6. All right, so it's the same thing. طيران. Here's a little different. All right, if you stop on the word طيران, how would you stop?
طيرة.
All right, we mentioned 2, 4, 6. So how would you make it 4, 6?
طيرة.
What is that? How long is that?
2.
All right, 2 would be طيرة, طيرة. What would 4 be?
طيرة.
Okay, and 6?
طيرة.
All right, was he wrong or was he right?
He was right.
He was technically right. I was wrong. All right, you cannot make this 4 or 6 counts if you're stopping or continuing. طيرة. All right, you can only make it 4 or 6 counts when the next letter has sukoon. All right, for example, قريش, the ya, after the ya, after the letter of lean, so the ya would be the letter of lean here. After it is a sheen with a sukoon if you stop. قريش. So that's why you can extend it. طيرة, after the ya, the letter of lean, there's a ra with a fatha. It's not the last letter, so there's no sukoon here. If it was طير, for example, the word طير, that would be different. But because there's the alif, alif is the last letter, not the ra. So you cannot say طيرة. That's wrong. طيرة. That's wrong. Only 2 counts. طيرة. All right. Look at the next example. Does that make sense? You can only extend it 4 or 6 if it's the last letter of the word, or the next letter is the last letter. Like عارض للسكون. All right. Mute your mic, Slaudina, whoever that is. All right. Ain, aina. All right. If you stopped, how would you stop?
سكون. عين.
All right. How long was that?
Oh, sorry. I didn't even do 2.
Do 2 counts.
عين.
Ain. All right, good. 4.
عين.
Now 6.
عين.
Good. All right, next one. Ain. All right. Someone tell me where the med lean is in this. Where's med lean in this word?
Yeah.
Tell me exactly where. There's 2 yes. The second one. All right.
Second. Yeah.
Both of them.
Both of them. Excellent. There's 2 medleens in here. Ain. Because medleen is waw with sukun or ya with sukun. The letter before is a fatha. So that's the first one. Nay is the second one. All right. But obviously you cannot extend the first one. You're not gonna say nain. That's wrong. The second one you can extend though. Nain. All right, you can make it 2, 4, 6. The next one, ruwaida. All right. So because it's not the last letter, you cannot say ruwaida. It's wrong. Ruwaida, ruwaida. Right, just one option. All right, next one, ara'ayta. If you stop, ara'ayt, ara'ayt, and you can make it 2. All right, any questions on Medellin? So this med is basically takes the same rule as adad lisukun, 2, 4, 6 if you stop. All right. Any questions? All right. If there's no questions, we'll go to the last med to be covered, which is med lazim. What is med lazim? Med lazim, lazim means something that's mandatory, obligatory. All right, and they call it med lazim because it's med you have to make it 6 counts. There's only one option. It's the longest med, 6 counts. So no med out of every med goes past 6 counts. 6 counts is the longest you can make a med. All right, med lazim is always 6 counts. What is the definition of med lazim? When an original sukoon comes after a letter of med. So we said original sukoon. So it's not that fake kind of sukoon. It's the original one. There's actually a sukoon there. And it comes after a letter of med. All right. And there's 4 types. All right. The first one, as it says, is kilmi, which means it occurs in a word. And if you look on the right, you can also see that. The second one is harfi, which means in the letters at the beginning of surahs. So certain surahs, they have like alif, lam, mim, ta, sin, ha, mim. These letters that you extend, these are med lazim. There 6 vowel counts long. So when you're reading it, for example, you're reading surah ha, alif, lam, mim. The lam and the mim are going to be 6 counts. So if you hear a reciter say alif, lam, mim, you know that's wrong. It's supposed to be 6. All right. Muthaqqal. So there's kilmi, harfi. Kilmi means it's in a word. All right. Harfi is in the letters at the beginning of surahs, like alif, lam, mim, as we mentioned. Kilmi is when it's in a word. We'll get to that after. Muthaqqal is when it has a shadda after. All right. So why do we say if it has a shadda after, but this med, the rule of the med is if there's an original sukoon? Someone explain that. Doesn't that contradict? How does that make sense? If this med is talking about when there's a sukoon after, muthaqqal is saying if it has a shadda after. Can someone explain that?
Doesn't the shadda include a sukoon and another vowel letter?
Excellent. That's exactly why. Because a shadda, the first letter of a shadda, when there's a shadda, it means there's 2 of those letters. The first one has a sukoon. All right. So it's basically a sukoon. It's just written as a shadda. The first one has a sukoon. But when it has a shadda, they call it muthaqqal. All right. Mukhaffaf is when it has sukoon. All right. طيب. If you look on the right, we said med lazim, 2 types. Kilmi occurs in a word, harfi in the letters at the beginning of surahs. Kilmi, there's 2 types. So there's muthaqqal and there's mukhaffaf. So there's kilmi muthaqqal and kilmi mukhaffaf. All right. Muthaqqal is going to be with a shadda. So remember, now we're talking about in a word, in one word, not letters. All right. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ. There's a letter of med, ha, and the next letter is a jim with a shadda. It's a shadda, so it's muthaqqal. All right, you're going to make it 6. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ. All right, so don't say فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ. That's not long enough. It has to be 6 counts. All right. And almost every single med lazim in the Quran, for kilmi, the ones that occur in words, every single one is muthaqqal. There's only one example. There's only one word where it's mukhaffaf. So all the examples are going to be with shaddas. All right, 99% of them are going to be with shaddas. There's only one word where it comes with an actual sukoon. And that word is in Surah Yunus, al-ana. All right. And now we'll go to the mukhaffaf. And I believe it comes 3 times in the surah, or 2. All right. Ana. All right, so this med, it's in a word, but it's mukhaffaf. It's actual sukoon. There's no shadda like the other examples. So you make it 6 counts. الآن وقد عصيت من قبل. All right. So these are in a word. مد لازم كلمي مثقل and مخفف. Right, and they're all 6 counts. Now we'll look at harfi in the letters at the beginning of surahs. All right. So مثقل, we said it has a shadda. So if you look at the alif lam mim, you're gonna hold it. You're gonna say alif lam mim. So that's why it's مثقل, because you hold it. All right. And مخفف, alif lam ra. Right, there's no ghunna, you don't hold it, so it's just mukhaffaf. All right, and these meds, they're also 6 counts. So every med lazim 6 counts. So the meme here and the lam are the ones you're extending. So when you say alif lam meme, you say alif lam. So the lam you make 6, then you do ghunna for 2 vowel counts, lam, and then the meme you make 6, meme. All right, the next one mukhaffaf, alif lam ra. So the ra is just 2 counts. It's not mad lazim. All right. And here's some more examples of mad lazim. All right. Someone read the first example. Go ahead.
قتل
I couldn't hear you.
الحاقة
All right. How many counts is this mad?
6
Good. So make it 6. Read it again.
حاقة
Good. All right. And what's this med called again?
مد لازم
Good. Med. You remember which kind of med lazim? Is it kilmi or harfi? Is it in a word or a letter? It's in a word. Al-haqqa is a word. All right. Is it muthaqqal or mukhaffaf? Is there shadda or is there sukoon? An actual sukoon or shadda? It's a shadda. It's no sukoon. Remember, we said all of them have shadda except al-ana. So next example. الطامة الصاخة كافة. All right, into the end. So these are all examples. All right, if you look at this example, ولا الضالين. All right, in Surah Fatiha. So this is mad lazim. So whenever you're reading Surah Fatiha, ولا الضالين, ضالين, you have to make 6 vowel counts long. Right? There's no option. It's mad lazim. You have to. So you have to say ولا الضالين. All right. Trick question. ولا الضالين. The lean. How long is that? And which med is this? Does anyone know? The een part at the end of the ayah. We covered this today. Medlin. Just because it's ضالين, it's not medlin. It's not
عدد
medlin.
للسكون
نعم. What'd you say?
عدد للسكون
Good. مد عارض للسكون. All right. Because when you stop the fatha here, lina, it takes a sukoon if you stop. ضالين. All right. The letter before is a med letter. All right. So remember we said if there's a temporary sukoon and before is a med letter, it's arid lis sukoon. So now what are the options? Someone else, not the law, tell me the options for the lean part. How long can I make it?
2, 4, or 6.
Good. All right. So how would that sound like? Make it 2.
ولا الضالين.
Good. ولا الضالين. That's 2. Someone make it 4 now. Someone?
ولا الضالين.
No, 4. The lean, make it 4.
Yeah. ولا الضالين.
Good. All right, now make it 6. Someone else?
ولا الضالين.
All right, good. So this is mad lazim. We kind of went back to mad al sukun for a little bit, but this is mad lazim. All right, and that was it for today. So very quickly, today we covered mad far'i, and we mentioned, I think it was 6. All right, we mentioned mad muttasil, the attached mad. We mentioned mad munfasil, which is the opposite, disconnected mad. We mentioned mad badal, which is when the hamza is before it. We mentioned mad arid lil-sukun, which is because of temporary sukun, and we did mad lean, which is when there is a fatha before the waw or the ya. And we mentioned mad lazim, which is obligatory mad. It has to be 6 counts. When there is a sukun after a mad letter. All right. Is there any questions on anything that we covered today, or any of the lessons, or any questions in general?
Yeah, I have a question. So in the beginning, you mentioned that mud mutassil is the one that you need to be consistent on, like at least when you're reciting. In terms of consistency for the others, what does that look like? Like, can you switch regarding like whether it's like 2, 4, 6?
Excellent question. So first, you said med muttasil is the one you have to be consistent on. So med muttasil is the one you're making 4. So you're talking about med munfasil. And munfasil is the one you have an option on. Because muttasil is already 4, so you don't have an option to choose between. So munfasil, the one you're talking about, is the one you have an option. That one you have to stay consistent with. All right. Second thing, the other mudud, many of them you're already staying consistent. There's only one option. For example, mad lazim, it's 6 counts, so that you don't have an option. It's just 6. All right. For mad lean, 2, 4, 6. Mad adil sukun 2, 4, 6. Badal is just 2, so there's no option. All right. And mad muttasil is 4. So it's just mad lean and mad adil sukun. Right. Those are basically the 2 meds that you only have options. These ones, it's better to stay consistent, but you do not have to. So if you say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. So the first one I made how long?
2,
And the second one?
4.
Is that wrong?
No,
No,
it's not wrong.
it's okay. It's okay to do, but it's better to stay consistent with med badal. But you can, yes. So this one is not like med munfasil. Med munfasil, you have to stay consistent. But med arid sukun and med lean, you don't have to. You understand?
Yes, thank you.
But it's better to stay consistent. Any other questions? That was an excellent question. Anyone have any questions or no? So this is the end of the Tajweed course. Inshallah, next week we'll have an exam on everything we covered. Right, and maybe we could do a review session. We'll see. But I'll send out the slides. I'm not sure if I already sent them out. I think I sent 3 of them out. But I'll send all the slides so you can review there. And if there's any questions, you can type them in the chat or text me privately. But either next week or the week after, we'll have an exam on everything that we've covered, right, for the students that were in the course. Are there any questions before we go?
No.
All right, inshallah. I think we'll end there. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.